Om Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Hari Om Om Tavakathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibiriditam Kalmashapaham Sravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grananti Ye Bhurita Jana. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishna. Welcome to the 103rd week of readings and reflections from this book, The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. This is a book translated from the original Bengali by Swami Nikhilanandaji Maharaj, who was minister in charge of New York Center. This book was originally written by Mahendranath Gupta in Bengali, titled Sri Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita. As usual, we shall read a few passages and then take some points for reflection. We are now in chapter 16, page 332. The master started again for the Panchavati, accompanied by M. No one else was with them. Sri Ramakrishna, with a smile, narrated to him various incidents of the past years of his life. Master: You see, one day I saw a strange figure covering the whole space from the Kali temple to the Panchavati. Do you believe this? M remained silent with wonder. He plucked one or two leaves from a branch in the Panchavati and put them in his pocket. Master: See there, that branch has been broken. I used to sit under it. M: I took a young twig from the tree. I have it at home. Master with a smile: Why? M: I feel happy when I look at it. After all this is over, this place will be considered very holy. Master smiling: What kind of holy place? Like Panihati? Almost every year, for some time past, the master has been attending the religious festival at Panihati. It was evening. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on the small couch in his room, absorbed in meditation on the Divine Mother. The evening worship in the temples began with the music of gong and conch shell. M was going to spend the night with the master. After a time, Sri Ramakrishna asked him to read from the BhaktaMala, a book about the Vaishnava saints. M read: There was a king named Jayamal who loved Krsna with all his heart. He followed with unfailing devotion all the rites and ceremonies associated with the adoration of Krishna, whom he worshipped under the name of Shyamasundara. Completely satisfied with his own ideal deity, he never directed his attention to any other god or goddess. One of the inflexible rules of his devotions was to worship the deity daily till almost midday. He would never deviate from this practice, even at the risk of his wealth or his kingdom. Learning this secret, an enemy king invaded the kingdom during the morning hours. Jayamal's soldiers could not fight without his command, so they watched the invasion silently. Slowly the enemy surrounded the most of the capital. Yet Jayamal did not come out of this shrine room. His mother came to him and wept bitterly, trying to persuade the king to fight. He said to her calmly, Why are you worried? Shyamasundara gave me this kingdom. What can I do if he has decided to take it away? On the other hand, none will be able to do me harm if he protects me. Our own efforts are vain. And actually, in the meantime, Shyamasundara, the deity himself, had taken the king's horse from the stable and had ridden fully armed to the field. Alone he faced the hostile king and alone destroyed his army. Having crushed the enemy forces, the deity returned to the temple and fastened the horse nearby. Jayamal, on completing his worship, came out and discovered the horse there, panting and covered with sweat. Who has been riding my horse? He demanded. Who brought it to the temple? The officers declared they knew nothing about it. In a pensive mood, the king proceeded to the battlefield with this army and there found the enemy, with the exception of the leader, lying dead. He was starting uncomprehendingly at the scene when the enemy king approached, worshipped him, and said, Please permit me to tell you something. How could I fight? You have a warrior who could conquer the entire world. I do not want your wealth or your kingdom. Indeed, I will gladly give you my own if you will tell me about the blue warrior, your friend. No sooner did I turn my eyes on him than he cast a spell on my heart and soul. Jayamal then realized it had been none other than Shyamasundara that had appeared on the battlefield. The enemy king understood too. He worshipped Jayamal and through his blessings received Krishna's grace. Master, do you believe all that? Do you believe Krishna rode on that horse and killed Jayamal's enemies? M. I believe that Jayamal, Krishna's devotee, prayed to him with a yearning heart. But I don't know whether the enemy really saw him coming to the battlefield on a horse. Krishna might have come there riding the horse, but I do not know whether they really saw him. Master with a smile. The book contains nice stories about devotees, but it is one-sided. Also, it abuses those who differ with his views. The following morning, the master and M were talking in the garden. M. Then I shall stay here? Master. Well, you come here so often. What does it mean? People visit a holy man once at the most, but you all come here so often. What is the significance of that? M remained silent. The master himself gave the reply. Master, could you come here unless you belong to my inner circle? That means you all are my own relatives, my own people, like father and son, brother and sister. I do not tell you everything. If I did, would you come here anymore? Once Sukadeva went to Janaka to be instructed in the knowledge of Brahman. Janaka said, First give me my fee. But, said Sukadeva, why should I give you the fee before receiving the instruction? Janaka laughed and said, Will you be conscious of Guru and disciple after attaining Brahmagyana? That is why I asked you to give me the fee first. It was night. The moon rose, flooding all the quarters with its silvery light. Yam was walking alone in the garden of the temple. On one side of the path stood the Panchavati, the Bakul grove, the Nahabad, and the master's room. And on the other side flowed the Ganges, reflecting millions of broken moons on its rippling surface. Yam said to himself, Can one really see God? The master says it is possible. He says that if one makes a little effort, then someone comes forward and shows the way. Well, I am married, I have children. Can one realize God in spite of all that? Yam reflected a while and continued his soliloquy. Surely one can. Otherwise, why should the master say so? Why shouldn't it be possible through the grace of God? Here in the world around me, the sun, moon, stars, living beings, and the 24 cosmic principles, how did they come into existence? Who is their creator? What am I to him? Life is indeed vain without this knowledge. Sri Ramakrishna is certainly the best of men. In all my life, I have not seen another great soul like him. He must have seen God. Otherwise, how could he talk with God day and night, addressing him so intimately as mother? Otherwise, how could he love God so intimately? Such is his love for God that he forgets the outer world. He goes into samadhi and remains like a lifeless thing. Again, in the ecstasy of that love, he laughs and cries and dances and sings. Friday, December 14, 1883. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Sri Ramakrishna was standing on the southeast veranda near the door of his room with Ramlal by his side. Rakhal and Latu were moving about. M arrived and prostrated himself before the master. Sri Ramakrishna said to him affectionately, "You have come, that's very good. Today is an auspicious day." It was the last day of the Bengali month and the day of the full moon. M was going to spend a few days with the master, practicing spiritual discipline. The master had said to him, "If an aspirant practices a little spiritual discipline, then someone comes forward to help him." The master had said to M, "You should not eat every day at the guest house of the Kali temple. The guest house is intended to supply free food to monks and the destitute. Bring your own cook with you." M had accordingly done so. The master arranged a place for the man to cook, and he asked Ramlal to speak to the milkman about milk. A little later, Ramlal began to read from the Adhyatma Ramayana. The master and M listened while he read. Ram had married Sita after breaking the great bow of Shiva. On the way to Ayodhya with his bride, Ram was confronted by the warrior sage Parashuram, who was about to make trouble for him. Parashuram threw a bow at Ram and challenged him to string it. Dasarath, Ram's father, was seized with fear. With a smile, Ram took the bow in his left hand and strung it. Then, twanging the bowstring, he fixed an arrow and asked Parashuram where to shoot it. That curbed the pride of the warrior sage. Prostrating himself before Rama, Parashurama worshipped him as the supreme Brahman. As Sri Ramakrishna listened to Parashuram's hymn, he went into spiritual mood and now and then chanted the name of Rama in his melodious voice. So, dear devotees and friends, welcome to the 103rd week of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, readings and reflections. Last week, just to recapitulate briefly, Sri Ramakrishna gave us a clear indication the difference between Hatha Yoga and Raja Yoga. And also, he spoke about great honorably about companions of Chaitanya. And he says he saw M as well as Balaram in the group of people who were moving with Chaitanya. And then he said that I pray to Divine Mother, and if I do not find the devotees, I will surely die. Please bring them to me immediately. So in those days, Sri Ramakrishna said, whatever he thought in his mind, and that came to pass. So he says as an example, he wanted to plant a Tulsi grove in the Panchavati in order to practice japa and meditation. You know, the Tulsi plant is said to be, it's called basil. That plant is said to be very holy and auspicious. Even in homes, we all keep in India, homes everywhere, the Tulsi plant is kept. Because wherever it is there, if you practice japa and meditation, the Tulsi plant helps. So Mother Tulsi, she's worshipped like that, and she's very greatly devoted to Lord Krishna. And this Tulsi plant, and he wanted to put a Tulsi grove there. So, but he wanted a fence there. So he just thought, if the fence is there, then the grove can be well protected. That's what he thought. And what he wanted to make the fence, he wanted bamboo sticks, and then the ropes, and the string, etc. he wanted. Simply he thought, that's all. The next day, the Ganges brought bamboo sticks and some string by the flood tide of the Ganges. Very interesting, because he thought about it and it came. And then he said that a temple servant noticed them and joyfully told me. So That divine exaltation mood came to Sri Ramakrishna even uh, with that divine exaltation mood, he says that he could no longer perform the formal worship. See, that is one of the important point here we have to understand. How the formal worship requires lot of care of mind to the external things. Because you require tulsi here, you require bilwa, you require water, and you require spoon, etc. to do the worship. So formal worship means a ritualistic worship. To do a ritualistic worship, you require a lot of mind to be put external. But when your mind goes inside and thinks of the Lord, then how can you put your mind outside? So no longer the formal worship is possible. So these things we saw last week. Now, today, in our reading, we found that Sri Ramakrishna was talking to Yam. And when Yam came to his room, he saw Sri Ramakrishna sitting on the small couch and he was absorbed in meditation on the Divine Mother. The evening worship is going to begin in the Kali temple. If you had gone to the Dakshineswar temple, you would know that how beautiful the atmosphere of the Dakshineswar temple. And Mother Kali is standing there with a majestic look, and before her the arati will be done. That was the time, and the music of gong and conch shell had to begin. And M was going to spend that night with the master. M comes to master very frequently, and he comes, and that's what he said last time also. This time, when M thinks like that, why are you here so often? Master asked him. What does it mean? M did not reply anything. Though he has got some answer, he didn't reply. Master himself gave the reply. People visit a holy man once at the most, but you all come here so often. What is the significance of that? So M writes in his diary, M remained silent. The master himself gave the reply. What did he say? Could you come here unless you belong to my inner circle? That means you all are my own relatives, my own people, like father and son, brother and sister. And he says, I don't want to tell you everything. If I tell, will you come? So Yam is looking at him, surprised. Oh, if you tell the whole secret of the spiritual life and shows him the realization of God, then will Yam go there? He won't go there. So Sri Ramakrishna gives a beautiful example of the great Sukadeva. Sukadeva was a great rishi, and he had Janaka as his guru. So he went to Janaka and said, my father has sent me to you for the instruction in the knowledge of God. So please teach me. So Janaka said, first put your fee here. Then only I will teach you. Then Sukadeva was surprised. Well, you first render the service, then the fee will be applicable to you. But you are asking fee earlier. Why? Then Janaka smilingly said, no, will you be conscious of Guru and disciple after attaining the Brahma Jnana, the highest knowledge if you have gained, you will have no difference between Guru and Brahma. So you won't give me any fee. That's why I ask you. So this funny incident, Sri Ramakrishna quotes and tells M, that's why I do not tell everything. Come again and again. That is the meaning. So it was the night. And see, this gospel of Ramakrishna, why we are all enamored of reading this, is not only it gives the conversations of Sri Ramakrishna had with people, and such wonderful advices are there. Yes, we accept that. But then Yam had a poetic bent of mind. So he used to write about the description of the Dakshineswar. In the very first chapter, he describes beautifully about the Dakshineswar, whole Dakshineswar. Even in the tourist, what do you call that, pamphlet of the Dakshineswar temple, it's not written like that. So well it is written. The first chapter itself is a tourist pamphlet like. It's so beautifully he has written all the details and how wonderfully he explains. So here also we find a paragraph. His poetic talent has come out here. So he says, it was night. I'm reading again for you. The moon rose, flooding all the quarters with its silvery light. See, moon's light, the bluish light, it's like silvery in some places in the waters. He was walking alone in the garden of the temple. On one side of the path stood Panchavati, Bakul Grove, Nahabar, and the master's room. And on the other side flowed the Ganges, reflecting millions of broken moons on its rippling surface. What a beautiful expression. You see, millions of broken moons you can see because the waves are coming, rippling waves, and the waves are all breaking, going up and down, up and down. And in that, he sees the moon is broken, the water. That means thousands of moons are broken. What a beautiful expression. And then he is doing soliloquy. What is soliloquy? Soliloquy means one's own thoughts expressed in words quietly. That means he is telling to his own mind. He is talking to his own mind. That is how many great poets in Bengal they used to write. That they would say, "Oh my mind, listen to me," like that poem will start. So they are talking actually to themselves. They're not for written for others. The poet himself writes, "Oh my mind," like that. So that means it's a form of soliloquy. So he says, and he's thinking about Master and what he thinks about. Why Master is telling that you can realize God, how it is possible, and he's feeling his inability. I am married, I have children. Can one realize God in spite of all that? That doubt has come in his mind. And then he's telling to himself, but if Sri Ramakrishna, if it is true that I cannot realize God, will Sri Ramakrishna tell me? No. He himself is a realized person. He must have seen God. Otherwise, how could he talk day and night to the Divine Mother, addressing God as Mother? Otherwise, how could he love God so intimately? And he forgets the entire outer world. Such is his love. Like that is, making himself. And by talking to himself like this, M has done a great job. What he has done? He has made impressions of Sri Ramakrishna very strong in his mind. That's why whenever you visit a place of pilgrimage, then you come back and then you think about that. So go on thinking about that place and that atmosphere of that place and the people you met or the natural scenes you saw, those all will go and get strengthened in your brain. So that is what he was doing. So once it is strengthened, he cannot forget Master. So whole life, M believed in Ramakrishna and he was thinking about Sri Ramakrishna all the time. Because to his house also Sri Ramakrishna is visited. And in that room, and the M says, Sri Ramakrishna initiated Holy Mother. Ramakrishna initiated M. And also, M received another initiation from Holy Mother also. So two people have initiated him. That is something very strange. And he says that. So that was there on that day. That is the previous portion that was completed. What I did not touch here was the story of BhaktaMala. BhaktaMala is a book. Mainly Vaishnava saints are given there, then history. But when you read the book gives a great inspiration in your spiritual life. But what happens to that is, though the book gives you inspiration, if you take it in spirit, but if you start taking it in letter, then you may get start doubt. That's what Sri Ramakrishna says about that book. It's a great book, no doubt. But then what has happened? The book contains nice stories about devotees. Huge number of devotee stories are there. It's like a big book. It has been translated into Tamil, originally written in Marathi. Then later it came in many languages. I have not seen a Bengali version of that, but I have seen a Tamil version. So we used to have in our home. So we used to read that. Once Swami Ritajanandaji, the head of the center at that time in France, in someone 80 to 83, I think. So he came to Calcutta and he became ill. So he was admitted in Seva Pratishthan. So I was there at that time looking after the monks who are getting admitted in the ward. So it is called Premananda ward. So monks would be admitted. So we gave him a cabin and he was there. So when I used to go to him, he would say, Look, Vimokshananda, take the BhaktaMala and read one story for me, he said. So I would stand next to him and read out the story in Tamil, because his mother tongue was Tamil. So he had a Tamil book of that. Then, of course, I remembered, hey, in our house also we had this book. At that time also I read some stories, but not. But when he has come, every day my duty was to go and inquire about his welfare and then read one story. So a lot of stories I learnt afterwards. Oh, what a wonderful stories are there. So the Jayamal story is also like that. Jayamal was a great king. He was devoted to Lord Sri Krishna so much, and he's without fail, from early morning sunrise to noontime, he would be sitting and thinking, meditating on Krishna. He would not come out. All this running kingdom, etc., he will do afternoon, not in the morning. Morning has been completely scheduled for thinking of Sri Krishna. So this has become famous and everybody has come to know. So one of the enemies, he also came to know. He thought, so whole morning till noontime he is not coming out, then that is the right time. In the early morning I go and capture the kingdom. So he came with his big army. Now the news came to the Jayamal's mother and all the ministers, but then they cannot do anything unless the king gives the order. Because in those systems, the king must say, shoot, then only shooting can be done. So the king's order where to get, and you can't disturb the king. He is blissfully unaware of what is happening outside. He's thinking of Krishna. And the mother comes and tells him, oh, my son, the enemy has come. He is at our doors. Get up and fight. Then Jayamal opened his eyes and looked at his mother and said, why are you telling like this? If this kingdom, who gave me? It was Shyam Sundara. Shyam Sundara is another name for Lord Sri Krishna. So Shyam Sundara means beauty in brown, you can say. So it's a brown color, no? So Shyam. So and then is a Sundara means beauty. So he is that type. That is the name of Sri Krishna. So he says, this kingdom was given by Lord Krishna. If he wants to take it away by sending an enemy, let him take it. I am not the owner of this kingdom. He is the owner. And then he says, if Lord Krishna wishes that the kingdom will be with me, any enemy can come, nobody can take it from me. See, what a great conviction of faith in Sri Krishna, I say. Something ununderstandable. Because people have half faith, half conviction, etc. We have seen many people. In our own lives also we have. That's why Sri Ramakrishna says, one fellow said, one girl used to supply milk because her mother had a cow and she used to supply milk to a Pandit. So Sri Ramakrishna tells this parable. The Pandit was telling, okay, every day the girl comes and gives the milk and that goes away. One day it was terribly raining and the river got swollen. So much of flood. Nobody can cross the river and there was no boat available. But the Pandit saw the girl has come with the milk. He was surprised. How did you come? She said, it was easy. I just walked down the river telling Krishna, that's all. So he got up, curious. How could she tell Krishna's name and walk on the flood? So he said, okay, let me go with you. How you go back, let me see. So he went with her to the river bed. And the river came and the river was swollen. Naturally, flood was there. And the girl simply said, oh, Krishna, Krishna. And then she started walking. The Pandit also said, let me also try. He said, oh, Krishna, Krishna. He started walking. Immediately, he took his dhoti, and then put it up so that it doesn't get drenched. Then he got drowned in that because he had half faith, not full faith. If you have full faith, God will protect you definitely. There is no question of not protecting you. That type of 100% faith must be there. So in the Christian literature, one father, I was hearing him in South Africa. So he used to tell nice stories. So he told one story. He says, one fellow was going, by the time it became evening in the jungle. So he couldn't find the way. And he was going here and there, and there was a pit like that, his feet slipped. And then he fell down. So while falling in the pit, because how depth it is there, he doesn't know. So and it's all dark, so he didn't know. So he hung to a branch, and then he's telling, oh Lord, save me," and he's shouting, and it's a complete silence, and nobody is, because nobody is there in the jungle, and he's shouting, "Oh Lord, if I leave my hand, or if the branch breaks away, I'll be falling down to my death. Please protect me," like that he's shouting. And then Lord said, "Yes, I am protecting you." The voice said, "Leave your hand now of the branch." Then he's questioning the Lord. "How, Lord, you are asking me to leave? If I fall, I will dash to the death. Do you want me to die? I want you to protect me. Why are you telling me to die now?" Like that he's shouting to Lord. Lord said, "I am the Lord speaking. Leave your hand. You are protected." But he won't leave. And whole night he was holding to that branch and staying like that. And next day, early morning, the sun rays came and everything was clear. And he found to it, it was only 1 feet distance from the ground. So he said, see, because he didn't have the faith. Otherwise, within that 1 foot, he would have easily down come to that. And he would have escaped also in the night. But then he had half faith. He wanted God to help him. Yes, that is the half faith. But he did not believe that God can help him, actually. So here you see the Jayamal said, what I'm going to do? If Shyam Sundara, if Sri Krishna wants to retain this kingdom with me, he will go and fight. You don't worry, mother, he said. And he was engaged in puja. And exactly happened. And the enemy saw one man coming on a horse. And the horse belonged to Jayamal. And in that horse he came. And he fought the entire force. Everybody was killed except the enemy. He left him and then went away. So the enemy, and then after finishing his puja, he came out, said, let me now take my force and go to see the enemy. Where is he? And he took, where is the enemy? All people are dead outside the town. And then only the enemy king was standing there. He came running to him and made prostration to Jayamal. So Jayamal said, hey, what is the matter? Why did you fall at my feet? Then Jayamal, the enemy says, look, one man came in a horse and he won this entire battle. I saw him. It's a dazzling blue. And, he made me mesmerized. And I could not understand how this could happen. One man fighting with the entire army. See, that is the power of Sri Krishna. When Arjuna went to seek the help of Sri Krishna in the Mahabharata, we read, Sri Krishna was lying down on his cot. His couch was quite big and he was lying down and as if he was sleeping, either he was posing. And Arjuna went first. He didn't want to disturb Sri Krishna. He sat next to his, it's where to sit. Then he found near the feet, there was some space on the couch. So he went and sat. Then Duryodhana comes. Duryodhana also sees Sri Krishna is in sleeping mood. Okay, where to sit now? That seat with the feet side, that is occupied now. And then Duryodhana will not sit there also anyway. His ego was such. So he went and sat near his head. And then slowly Sri Krishna, as if yawning, etc., he did. And then he opened his eyes. First time when he opened his eyes fell on Arjuna. Because Arjuna was just opposite him near the feet. So he said, oh, Arjuna, you have come. What a wonderful thing to see you. Like that he slowly got up. Then he turned and said, oh, Duryodhana, you also have come. Okay, wonderful. Both of you are here. And your war preparations are ready? Going on? He said, yes. Preparations are going on well, but we need your assistance. Then Krishna said to Duryodhana, look, first let me listen to Arjuna. Or to you, what do you think? Whom I should ask first? Because both of you come for assistance. Then he says, no, you ask Arjuna. Okay. Then Krishna asked Arjuna, what do you want? He says that I want you by my side. Then he turned to Duryodhana. What do you want? I want your force. You can be with Arjuna, no problem. But I want your force. What is the glory of Krishna's force? The Krishna's force was one person in that army can actually kill 1,000 people. Each one had the power to kill 1,000 people. See, then naturally this battleground, 1 to 1 is they fight. So if you fight and kill one man, you are tired. You are also wounded, you see. You go back to the tent again. But it's not like that. One person is called a Devi Sena. So it's a divine power. So it says one person can kill 1,000 people. So I want your power. If your force is with me, then I can easily win these Pandavas in the battle. Okay. See, he made a mistake. If he had asked for Krishna, perhaps they would have won Kauravas. Of course, history cannot be changed now. So Arjuna wanted Krishna and won. Wherever Krishna is there, in that place, victory is always. So that is the thing that we find here. For that also, you require great conviction. So Jayamal had that conviction. And he says, and that enemy is telling, you have a warrior who could conquer the entire world. I do not want your wealth or your kingdom. I will gladly give you my own if you tell me secret about this blue warrior, your friend. Who is that friend? Tell me. I could not turn my eyes on him. Then he cast a spell on my heart and soul. When Krishna comes, everybody is attracted to his, he cast a spell on everyone. That is the beauty of Lord. Wherever Lord comes, in any form, he comes and he casts a spell. People cannot say anything. Think of the Jesus life when Jesus was passing by a village and he found some people were, shouting, etc. So he said, what is this cries are coming? And one girl was very feeble voice. She was actually wailing. So Jesus went and stood there. Then he saw everybody is throwing some stone on her. One fellow threw, another fellow threw on her, and the girl is sitting like that on the road, and then she is wailing. So when Jesus went and stood, everybody's from hands, the stone fell down. They are looking at Jesus because God has come. Everybody stunned. Then Jesus ordered them, because she is a bad woman, you think, and you are stoning her. Now, if you have not done anything bad in your life, that person can stone a throw. Then nobody did, because everybody has done something bad in their life. So they all went away. We find the same thing in Chaitanya's life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he goes, he used to shine like a luster, and that luster was like a great luminosity, bright light. 1,000-watt bulb is burning now. Like that is moving. Today morning, one gentleman showed me a picture of Sri Ramakrishna. Such a beautiful picture, It's a black and white. And around Sri Ramakrishna, the light is emanating like that a picture is. I saw for the first time. I have not seen earlier that picture. It's a black and white picture. So beautiful it is there. So like that, when Sri Ramakrishna also used to come to Brahma Samaj, etc., all the people would look at him, as if they are seeing something new. Because why? It's a God, when walks on like that, he attracts the heart and soul of the man. So this is the story. Now, Sri Ramakrishna is asking funny way to Yam. Do you believe all that? Do you believe Krishna rode on that horse and killed Jayamal's enemies? And Yam is very careful. Can he say, no, I don't believe? If he says, I don't believe, what will happen? Sri Ramakrishna may say, what? You don't believe that God can do everything? He may say that. Suppose he says, I believe. That is, oh, you've got so much of faith. He may make fun of him also. So Yam is very diplomatic. So he says, I believe Krishna's devotee prayed to him with a yearning heart. When Jayamal prayed to Krishna, it was with a yearning heart. See how politically correctly he was speaking. But I don't know whether the enemy really saw him. He says, I don't know. Coming to the battlefield on a horse. Krishna might have come there, riding the horse. But then, I do not know whether the people really saw him. See how diplomatically he gives. So, Master with a smile. Yes, the book contains nice stories about devotees. It is worth reading at least once, if you can remove some of the improbable things that are written there. So because that happened, and also what is the problem with this type of devotional book is they preach their own philosophy. They don't want to accept others types of others thinking. What they do, it abuses those who differ with its views because it's a Vaishnava book. Suppose other than Vaishnava things, if anybody says somebody is having devotion to Lord Shiva, and then that story will go in such a way that showing devotion to Lord Shiva is not good. Rather, he should change to Lord Krishna. Like that, the stories are made. So with the result, what happens? So Sri Ramakrishna has heard all these stories. So that's why he says it abuses the others, who are not aligned with their own viewpoints. Well, like their books are there anyway, but there are beautiful stories are there. I remember that one story of Shakubai. Shakubai was a maid servant to a very rich lady, landlady. And the rich lady was telling Shaku, you must come and clean all the utensils, etc. So she's doing every day, she does. On the day she went, she told, my daughter is going to get married. So people are coming to see my daughter. It is a huge affair because the rich people, So they will have you. I have invited more than 500 guests for the occasion. And all the utensils will put it there. And you must wash everything. And then only you should go back to your home. At that time, she was 6 or 7 months pregnant. She cannot work so much in that state of affairs. And she has come. And one after another, the dinner is going on and the plates are being brought and kept in the room. And Saku is sitting there looking at all the vessels, like a huge vessels, all the plates and glasses were increasing one by one. It has become huge. 500 people eating means you can understand. 500 plates, 500 glasses, 500 cups, etc. Now she is telling how I should wash all these things. And the lady has ordered me, I should leave only after completing the work. She says, oh Krishna, she was a great Krishna devotee. That's why her story comes in that book. She says, oh Krishna, I do not know how I am going to wash. I do not know. I cannot even lift all these things. And then I have to sit and wash. And I am in the state of affairs that I cannot bend also. How can I do all this? Like that she was wailing and talking to Sri Krishna, and she slept away. That was the biggest mistake she made. She slept away. And about 12 o'clock or so, when all the guests have gone, say even at 2 o'clock, you can maybe say, at that time when all the guests have gone, the landlady has come to this cleaning room. And he's shouting, Shaku, Shaku, have you cleaned all the vessels? Like that she's shouting, if you have not done so, I will take severe action. Like that he's shouting, that lady. And then he comes. And when he came into the room, she was stunned. All the plates and everything was tip-top cleaned, spick and span, and all stacked so beautifully. And she looks at Shaku. Shaku was asleep. And she said, how can a sleep be? She has completed the work and she slept away. Then she said, get up, get up. Then Shaku opened her eyes. She said, Mother, I am unable to wash even a single plate. Please don't take anything. I'm so tired. I slept away. Like that she is telling, so what you are talking? You already washed everything. See here. Then Shakubai saw everything spick and span kept. She said, Krishna came. That's why Krishna comes to the devotees' help. Whenever you want help, he comes and he does your work for. See, that is the problem. That's why when Narada asked, what you will give to a devotee? Will you give Mukti or Bhakti? Mukti means release from this life of death and birth. Bhakti means devotion to him. You may take birth also, but you will have devotion to Lord, which you will give to a devotee who is asking you. Then Krishna says, I will give Mukti immediately. If anybody asks Mukti, no question, I will grant it. But if anybody asks Bhakti, I will have to think twice. Then Narada says, why Lord? Bhakti is the most easiest thing. You can grant Bhakti, the devotee will be only praising you all the time. Is it not nice? It says, no, that is not the case. If I give Bhakti, I will have to do his work. And how much work I will do. So it is very difficult for me. But mukti means he will just merge within me, that's all, finished. So that is what he makes fun, that how difficult bhakti is. And this type of bhakti devotees, they give you inspiration. And then that's what he says. And then it was Friday, December 14th. So again, Rakhal, Latu, Ramlal, all people are sitting. Yam came a little late, and as usual, he prostrated himself before the master. And Sri Ramakrishna said to him affectionately, "You have come, that's very good. Today is an auspicious day. It was the last day of the Bengali month. Every last day of the Indian calendar month is called Sankranti. So the last day, night, if it is joined with Purnima, it is full moon, then that night is said to be very auspicious. So people do lots of sadhana, worship, etc. And Purnima is said to be very good for mother worship also. And then, so it was the last day of the Bengali month, and day of the full moon. Yam has decided to spend some time with the master in the Dakshineswar garden house. Why? Because he wanted to learn some spiritual discipline from the master. So he says, if, because master had told him, if an aspirant practices a little spiritual discipline, then someone comes forward to help him. Even those people who have taken initiation, they are all advised, to practice spiritual discipline time to time, again and again. And we have the retreats for that only, so that devotees can completely leave everything and come and go with a monk and then stay somewhere and then do. See, before this pandemic coming, we used to have nice 3 days retreat in Dalgan Park. So now, because of that, we are unable to go now. I think when it is free again, we will start that again. So in next month, a few devotees are taking me for retreat for 2 days. So we'll go to some place, stay there, and do some retreat. Because if you practice, then someone will come forward to help you. That's what Sri Ramakrishna says. And M believed that. So he wants to stay in Dakshineswar. Then Sri Ramakrishna gives him an instruction. You should not eat every day at the guest house of the Kali temple. See, we had a hospital centers in Itanagar. When Itanagar Hospital Center opened, then we had started a kitchen for the patients, because indoor patients are there. So 4 times we had to feed the patients. So from morning breakfast onwards to the night supper. So we require cooks, we require managers, we require groceries to purchase, storehouse, kitchen, etc. Everything we did. And then food is ready always, of course. Every time you can go, food is there, you can eat. So the guests used to come. And then when the guests used to come, where we will take them? Because in our monks' quarters, it was only a small 2-room place where we didn't have any cooking arrangement. We monks also used to go and eat there only. And all the staff also used to eat only. But when the guests come, we had no place, so we used to take them. Then one day, this portion was being read. That Ramakrishna is advising Yam. He says, you see, the Kali temple guest house feeds, it is meant for feeding poor people. You are a teacher. You are quite sufficiently, you are rich in that way, you can eat yourself. So why should you take this food? Temple food you should not take. As a prasad, you can have one small amount, but you should not eat there. As a guest, you come and you eat the full meal, which is meant for the poor people. So, how nicely he is treating him. Says, you should not eat every day at the guest house of the Kali temple. The guest house is intended to supply free food to monks and the destitute. There were wandering monks come. Always you will find 10, 15 monks coming to Dakshineswar. They stay for 3 nights and then go away. Other group come like that. So it is meant for the monks and the destitute, poor people. Bring your own cook with you. He had instructed him. So Yam had brought his cook. Now master arranged a place for the Yam's cook to cook, etc. So the Ramlal was speaking to the milkman. So the milk is given to him, etc. Simple things they will do. And then Ramlal began to read from Adhyatma Ramayana. Adhyatma Ramayana. So what I was telling was, this passage was read out in Italian. Then our head Swamiji, he looked at me, said, yes, hey, this is applicable to us also. Is it not? When we bring guests, that means we are taking the guests to the kitchen, which is meant for the patients and staff, not for the guests who are coming from outside. But then we want to feed them also, what to do? Then he told the engineering department to construct 4 bigger rooms with the kitchen, etc. And then they did that. After that, in the box quarter itself, we had a cook. We used to cook there and feed them. So all the guests we were not taking to hospital kitchen. They would be fed here itself. Because yes, you come and they donate to the monks also. So you can cook here and then feed them. So that's how we started that. So this is a very good suggestion that Master gives to him, or instruction. So the Ramayana incident that he is given here is Ram had married Sita after breaking the great bow of Shiva. Then on the way back to Ayodhya with his bride, Ram was confronted by Parashurama. Parashurama is one of the great, he is also considered as one of the 10 avatars. Vishnu came in the form of Parashurama, and in the same time, he took another avatar as Sri Ram. So Sri Ram is an avatar of Sri Vishnu. And at the same time, in the same way, he did that during Krishna avatar also. Balaram and Krishna, both of them also like that only. So Parashurama was a great rishi, and he was born to a rishi called Jamadagni. Jamadagni rishi was a very fierce man. When he gets angry, what he will do, you do not know. So what happened was, so it is the story about Parashurama's birth is very interesting. I'll tell you, this Parashurama is a youngest brother of the 4 boys of Jamadagni Rishi. And Jamadagni Rishi he used to go for meditation and comes back in the evening. And if he sits and meditates, he would know what all things has happened the whole day. He had such a wonderful meditative capacity. And on that day, he saw his wife was not bringing any water pot while she was coming after taking bath in the river. Now, Jamadagni Rishi asked her, why you did not bring the pot of water today? You know what she used to do? This lady, she used to go to take bath like other ladies of the village. They all would go there. But then, when she would go there, she would not go with a pot. All the ladies would bring pot from their homes, and they would go to the center of the river by swimming and then take water, fresh water, and then they would bring back to the home. That is the only water supply system was there. And Jamadagni's wife also used to go there. But what she would do is, she would go and see the sand on the river bed. She would make it a pot like that, and immediately the pot would set. That is the mystical power she had. Her name was Renuka. So Renuka Devi, she didn't need to take any pot outside. She take a clay or sand, she makes it a pot form, and that remains pot. And she would go with that and bring. On that day, Jamadagni Rishi came little earlier, and he was sitting outside. He saw his wife coming alone without the pot of water. Then he called his wife and said, why today there is no water today? She was keeping silent, putting her eyes down. So he closed his eyes and meditated what has happened when she went for bath. He could see Renuka along with her neighbors, ladies. They were all going to the river, and she is trying to make the pot, and the pot was not being made. At that time, he watched Renuka, what she was doing. Renuka was looking up on the sky. On the sky, Ashwini Kumaras, they are the physicians of the Devatas, the doctors of the Devatas. They are very handsome persons. They were moving on their chariot. And for a second, Renuka saw the handsomeness of these Ashwini Kumar Devatas. Her mind was little disturbed. She lost the power. Now Jamadagni knew this by his meditation. He was, a pavitra, that is, my wife should be completely faithful to me. That is what I expected. And this lady thought about a devata. Then he got immediately angry. So he called the first son. He gave an axe to him. With this axe, sever the head of your mother. The boy did not even touch the axe. He looked at the father and said, "Are you gone mad? You are asking me to kill the mother. Mother is the person who gave me birth, and you want me to kill her. I shall not do it." He refused and went away. The second brother he called. He said, "Father, my elder brother said you have gone mad. I think more than that madness, something has happened to you. You are now possessed by an evil spirit." So he also abused him and went away. Third boy he called. "This is an axe. Cut the head of your mother." He said, "No." The first boy said, "You are mad." Second boy said, "You are possessed." Now I am thinking, you are not the real father. Somebody else has come in the father. That's why you are advising me to kill my mother. I shall not hear you. The fourth boy his name was Rama. Only Rama his name was. So Rama came. Then he took the axe, said, "Father, why do you ask me to carry this axe? Now sever the head of your mother." Without asking any question, even without blinking for a second, he threw the axe on mother's neck. And mother's neck fell down. She became two. And she fell down dead. Now, this Jamadagni did not believe his eyes, because the three boys refused to kill the mother, but the last boy simply severed the head. Of course, she is his wife, you see. He lost his wife also. And then he immediately embraced his boy, said, "My boy, you were so faithful to my order. What boon you want? Ask any boon. I am so pleased with you, I will give you. Get my mother back." Okay, then naturally the boon came. Boon will be. Then the mother came. The head was put on her, and she became all right. Then at that time, the axe he kept on his hand. That is called axe is called Parashu in Sanskrit. So his name became Parashuram. The problem was that Parashu is unable to put it down anywhere else, because with the Parashu only he killed his mother. So it's called Matru Hatya. Matru Hatya is one of the heinous crime. In the Hindu scriptures they say, if you do a killing of your mother, there is no redemption from that. You have to suffer a lot. So what is the suffering Parshuram is having now? The Parshu is not coming out from his hand. So he is now become a left-hander. Everything doing left-hander. And he is moving everywhere, going from pillar to post, asking this Devata, that Devata, this God, that God, even Brahma. Nobody is giving anything. So that was the time when Parashurama went to Brahma and said, "Oh Brahma, my father is unable to help me. Such a big Rishi, Jamadagni. He is unable to help me. My mother Renuka is unable to help me. Now how do I get rid of this Parshu?" Then Brahma meditated and said, "You see, this Matra Hatya, killing of mother, is a heinous sin. If anybody wants to help you, that person has to take the sin on him. That's why Ganga refused. Ganga says, I can take any type of sins, but not this Matra Hatya, because I have to suffer. No, I will not do it." So she refused. Where Ganga refused, who is now going to take? So I will call my son. All the rivers in India, there are rivers which are depicted as mother. Say Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, all these are mother rivers. There are male rivers also available. One of the male rivers is Brahmaputra. Name itself Putra, not Putri. So it's called Brahmaputra. So the Brahmaputra river was there. So Brahmaputra, he ordered, you go and take the sin of. So from that day, when Brahmaputra washed his hand and the axe also fell down, Brahmaputra became tumultuous in his journey. So every year he changes his course. And that is what happening in Assam now. Every year we have floods. And that's why Brahmaputra is like that, they say, because he took the sin of another person. So we shall proceed further next week. Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Dhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Paramesha Medyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.